Hello everyone, JJIR here, and in this video we're going to see how to use Gcloud in order to control the Google Cloud platform. I find this as being much more efficient, automatic, and fluid than going in and graphically changing everything in the Google Cloud platform. Why are we using this? Because we're going to be doing Google Apps scripts from now on in the terminal instead of opening up Google Drive and doing it in a Google Apps scripts file, because I also find that easier. So to do that, we need Clasp, and for using Clasp, we need everything set up so that we can automatically run certain functions from the terminal, which we apply to Google Apps scripts later on. So I presented an article about all of this in Medium. I find this as being easier for most people to follow. So the article I'll leave in the description under the video, but basically it gives a text format of what we're going to see in this video. Either way, you can look at this, and if it helps you do this easier, then by all means go ahead and use it. For now, the first thing we need is to make sure we have some sort of Linux container or server up and running. In this case, I have one on a Chromebook, and we're using Ubuntu 20 for this. So just so you guys understand what I'm doing, this is a version container, meaning there's no updates applied yet. So we're going to do that right now. To make sure that everything's updated, we need to make sure everything is indeed updated before we start using the Gcloud SDK, or otherwise errors could arise. So here in the article, I have a section of code that you can use just to update everything. You don't have to use this. This is just optional. But my suggestion is making sure that all the essentials are installed and updated before you start trying to play around with Gcloud in this case. So we're going to select this. We're going to copy it, Control-C, go into our version Linux container here with Ubuntu on it, Control-Shift-V, and we're going to let that update itself and install anything that might be needed before we start playing around with Gcloud. Okay, so that took about 10 minutes. Now everything is updated. Now we can actually start installing Gcloud itself. Going back to the article here, all we have to do is grab this section here, which will allow us to install Gcloud without any problems on Ubuntu. You may have to make modifications or find the right way of installing Gcloud for your own Linux distribution, but in this case, with what I have there on Ubuntu, it works just fine. So we're going to do Control-Shift-V here and click Enter and let that install, and that should take another 5 minutes. Okay, so that took about 7 minutes for it to install itself. Now that we have Gcloud ready to go, what we're going to do is we're going to initiate that. First, we'll clear this up, and then we're going to put Gcloud init, enter. That's going to get Gcloud up and running, and then I'm going to click on yes, I would like to log in. And then after that, it's going to give me this link, which I will use to enter in and authenticate myself. So we're just going to select it, Control-Shift-C, open up a new tab, Control-Shift-V, and pop that in. Here we'll just choose the account we need to use to get into and use Gcloud. It's going to ask us to authenticate, and we're going to click on Allow. And then finally, we're going to copy this link here and go back here to paste it in with Control-Shift-V. Enter, and that will be ready to go. Then finally, we're actually going to skip this because we don't even want to use any of these. We actually want to start off with the code that we have. So we're just going to click on Control-C here to get out of this completely, clear this up, and now let's get back to our code to explain what we want to do there. So here in our Google Doc, I'm going to use this to explain everything. All of this will be in the Medium article under the video in the description. Here, the basic which we want to do is just divide it up so you guys understand what we're doing. The first thing we're doing is we're going to create the project, and then we're going to set that project as the main project so we can apply all these configurations to it. And then we need to apply the billing to it. The billing is only if you go above and beyond the limits of the free tiers that Google Cloud Platform offers. But the billing ID is going to be necessary either way, which presupposes that you've already put in a credit card within Google Cloud Platform. I underline again, you should never have to use it. It's just in case that you go over the limits that Google Cloud Platform offers for its free tiers. So presupposing you haven't set up your billing yet, all you do is go into the console.cloud.google.com. You're going to go into the 3 horizontal bars in the upper left, click on that, and then go down to billing and click on that. Once you click on that, Then something like this is going to pop up. And if you haven't set it up, they're going to ask you to set it up. Otherwise, on the right-hand side here, you're going to be able to find your ID that you need for your billing. You just copy that and then pop it in to where it says billing ID up here. You can also find that by putting into your terminal Gcloud Alpha billing accounts list, just like you see it here. You can actually copy and paste that later on, and it will give you the billing accounts that you have there. Typically, it's only going to be one, and you can grab your ID from what gets popped out from the terminal there as well. So once that's set up, down here we have our APIs. You can only put about 20 at the same time here, but the idea is to put in the APIs that you're going to need for future elements like Google Apps Scripts, which we're going to use. So my suggestion is to pop them all in there. You don't have to, but my suggestion is to put them all in. And then down below, we have our VM instance. This will set that up on a free tier. We're using Ubuntu here, 20, and a hard drive of 30 gigabytes, and the F1 Micro, which gives you about 0.6 gigabytes of RAM. With that, you stay in the free tier and you won't have to pay anything, which for us is more than enough. So that's that section. And then down here, we have our firewalls. We use the firewalls for bots in the future, for future videos. So you can set this up as you wish. You just simply put in your firewall names, and that will set that up. And this third one is actually for Mosh, so you'd want to use that one too. And then down here we have our app engine. The only thing this does is actually activate it within the project. It doesn't actually create any app type of things, but you want to have it activated if you're going to use it in the future, and we will use it for other future videos. So the suggestion is to activate it. It doesn't cost anything. You just activate and that's it. And then on here we have our service accounts. Very important. We're going to use these for a lot of projects in the future. Above all with CLASP, if we want to edit Google Apps Script in a terminal, and for anything we want to use for the G Suite APIs, editing or manipulating those with Python, we're also going to need the service accounts. So the idea is to set these up. And then at the end, we have our service account keys, which we will also use for our Python code. So this will also have to be downloaded into your terminal so you have it ready to go, so that when you activate the code, it will grab the keys here, and that will allow you to run certain things in relationship to G Suite. So all that stuff is important for us to have. Again, all this is optional. I just separated them so you can see what's in there, but we're going to put all this in one fell swoop just to have it ready to go, and that's what allows us to avoid all of the graphical step-by-step things we'd have to do within Google Cloud Platform if we did this manually and graphically. Then at the end, we have our little cherry on top of the cake here, which is basically to directly jump in by SSH into the VM instance we created with Gcloud automatically at the end. So what this will do is that after it finishes everything, it'll jump into the VM instance so you can see how that works. And then finally, to get the IP of this VM instance, you can either go in graphically again and check it out in Google Cloud Platform, or you can just use Gcloud app create project name. Sorry, that is not the right one. This is for the app. We already did that. Down below, rather, if we want the IP instance, we need to go to this one, which is Gcloud compute instances list. Then you put the project name next to this guy, and that will make a list of the VM instances you have. And beside those, you will have the public IP that you need to do the SSH. So we just need to underline everything that's in bold here are things that you will change. The only thing that you can't invent is the billing ID that you'll have to get, like we mentioned. But everything else in bold, you just invent your own names. The idea here is you need to have at least something with 6 or more characters. Otherwise, Google will try to add numbers to your name. So just make sure it's at least 6 characters or more. And make sure the spacing in between everything is exactly the way we have it here. Otherwise, there will be errors that come out afterwards. So I've set up an example here with everything connected together. So all we have to do is copy and paste. The only thing that's going to change is this guy. He's just a fake ID, billing ID number here. So I'm going to change that right before I paste it in. But everything else is an example that you can use yourselves. And I, again, will put this in the article at the very bottom. And the only thing you'll have to change, again, is the things in bold. So we're going to copy this, and we will Control-C, and then go over to our terminal here, Control-Shift-V, And again, I'm not going to click on enter because I have to change the billing ID, but everything else is the exact same way. And all you have to do is click on enter after you're done, and it will start producing all these things in the Google Cloud Platform. Okay, so that's all done now, and now we can clear this up. And now we'll go to the Google Cloud Platform to see what was created. So here we're finally in the project that's created. As you can see, the project was created. And if we go over here, we're going to see various things that were offered because of this. First, we can go into this area here, which is the IAM and admin, and we have our service accounts. So if we go in here and click on service accounts, we'll see that we have our service accounts already created and everything is set to go with that. Now, the only thing that you need to do, especially if you're in a domain, is you need to go over here to the three dots, click on edit, and you need to go down here to where it says show domain wide delegation. Unfortunately, Gcloud does not have any access to this, and we still don't know why. So this is basically the only essential thing that you'll have to do graphically inside Google Cloud Platform. Everything else, like we mentioned, you can do by Gcloud by itself, but this is the only step that's like absolutely essential where you have to go in, you have to click on the service account, and then you have to click on this here, which is enable G Suite domain-wide delegation. That allows us to be able to manipulate the users and the accounts and whatnot without having to worry about permissions. So here at the end, we're just going to put does all. We really don't care in this case. And then we're going to go down here and click on save. So outside of that, if we go back up here to the three horizontal bars, we have the possibility of reviewing which would be our compute engine. If we go into compute engine here and we go to VM instances, we're going to be able to see that was also created without any problems. I know it's taking a little time here, but the idea is to review the essential things that were put here. So as you can see, we have our compute VM instance here, and we have external IP that you can get from here, but like I said, it's not necessary. We'll see how to do that in the terminal. But the idea is here, this is also created everything we needed here. The only optional thing you can do here is if you wanted to, is if you could click on this and then click on edit here. And then down below, you can turn on allow HTTP and allow HTTPS traffic. We still don't know exactly what the deal is here because we think this is a bug because we already have the network tags here as if they were activated. We have yet to see this affect anything, so you can actually try out everything without doing this. Just in case, you can turn those on if you have a problem with something in the future in regards to the firewalls. And then down here, we have the possibility of adding the SSH keys. Now, we don't need to do this precisely because of the text that we have in what we mentioned before in the Google Doc, and we'll also add in the article. But the idea here is if you had to jump in and add to SSH keys, then you could do it directly here without having any problems. So moving right along, if we go back here to the three horizontal bars, we're also going to be able to see that the App Engine has been activated. Again, there's no app here to do or see anything with, but the idea is to simply show you that it has been activated and it's waiting for you to upload an application that you want to run within App Engine. So what we did simply was to activate it to have it ready for that. And this will pop out indicating that that's all ready to go. And then the other thing, which were the firewalls, the firewall rules, we go into that. And that will be under networking in VPC network. And then we just click on firewall rules here, and that will pop out the firewall rules. And as you can see here, we have the bot1, bot2, and mosh ones that we created previously. So everything's set up as we wanted it to. If we go back to our terminal here and we do ls, you're going to see that the keys have also been made, so that's all ready to go as well. So we did a lot of stuff here with just a little bit of text that was able to automate a whole entire process that would have taken us a lot longer to do if we had gone in and done it graphically. So like we mentioned before, if we want to get our IP address by Gcloud, instead of going into the Google Cloud Platform, we just put this in here, click on enter. That's going to grab the things that we have. Okay, just a small little thing here. We actually put the VM instance name here. That's not going to work. We actually have to put the project name in here. So putting the project name in here and then clicking on enter, that's what's going to allow us to actually open up and see the IP address of that, which is right here. So we have this one here. So all we have to do is grab that and add it to what we were doing before. So back over here in our document, we changed this, make it clear that it had to be the project name. And then down here, we added our IP address so that we could jump in there automatically. So now that we have that, all we have to do is grab this part here, Control-C, and we'll pop that in the terminal so we can finally jump into our VM instance like we want to. Pop that in and click on enter to jump in. And then when that's done, it will automatically pull us into our VM instance as you see here. And with that, we'll be ready to go to start working on other projects that we want online instead of working locally, to make sure that everything is updated and we don't have to worry about something happening to our local server or our laptop or whatnot that we were working on before, but rather it's much safer to have it in Google Cloud Platform in order to avoid any type of accidents that could happen for using something locally. So finally, what we want to do is add scopes to our admin console. If you're working within a domain, you don't have to do this step. This step is extra. If you're using a personal account, this is not going to help you at all. But the idea here is to add the scopes to the domain so that we have full control over the Google or the G Suite APIs later on when we start working with class and Python. So here we're going to jump out of this. We're going to go back into where we were before. We go to LS, as you can see, we have keys here. So we're actually going to grab the service account ID from this so we can put it in the admin console. So we're going to use Vim for this. We're going to put vim keys.json, enter. We'll jump into this. And if we go down below to the very end, there's one that says client ID. This number here is what we're going to use actually for the admin console. So we're going to grab this guy and then Control-Shift-C. And then go back over to where we were. We're going to open up the admin console. Again, this is only if you're working in a domain. And admin.google.com. Here we're going to go into security. And we're going to go into advanced settings here as we clicked on that. And then we're going to go into manage API client access. And here what we're going to do, we're going to pop in that ID we just grabbed from the other. And then we're going to put in the scopes. So the scopes here are in the article. All we have to do is select all of this. And then we're going to paste that into the area that we have here. And then we're going to authorize. And that will allow us to be able to control all the G Suite APIs within the project that we have. With that, we finished the complete process. Again, this has been much longer than I really wanted to, but I wanted to make sure that everything was clear. But once we finish off these steps, then we're ready to go now, and we're able to work on any project we want within a domain, having full control of everything that's in there, the APIs, the users, and whatnot. So hopefully this has helped. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section below. If you like this video, please give a thumbs up. Please subscribe. And if you don't need anything else, then we'll see you in the next one, and take care.